2-1. We're live, son.
Welcome, everybody, to 3NN Podcast. I'm Brian, a.k.a. Tarpman, a.k.a. Rancid, the greatest Halo player in Halo 3, Call of Duty, top 20 in the world in Uplink, and a damn handsome man, McFadden. And he's...
Nick Tesla. That's pretty good.
Right.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the official podcast of Open Minds and fuck her right in the pussy. You know what I'm
Grab
saying?
her by the pussy, if you will.
Hey, he wants to go that route. I'd like to go on the other route, but I think we can merge the two and find a fuck her right, or fuck her and grab her right in the pussy. You know what I'm saying? Anyway.
Hey, why not? Hey. Wait. Hold on. Did you just assume her gender?
Yeah, I did just assume her gender. Fuck her. She's a she. If she doesn't have a dick, she's a she. She's a woman. And there's slight variations, but I'm not getting into that right now. I'd like to welcome everybody back to the rodeo here. I'd like to welcome Brian back to the rodeo.
It's been a fucking year.
Just about. It has been a year, and that's why I named this episode. I don't even remember. I think it was Brian and Nick a year moved on, or a year evolved, or some shit. I don't know. So yeah, this is going to be an awesome show. I don't want to drag it on any more than it is. Let's get into things, I guess. Brian, what's been going on with you in the past year since the last time we've heard from you? I have received messages, even though I may not respond to all of them. I have received messages from people like, "Yo, what's going on? What's going on with you guys? How come you don't make videos no more? Where's your?"
Okay, well, it's been a long, frustrating year. I jumped on board with some what's the word? At the time, they were friends. I do have a few shout outs I'll have to give, but anyway, me and this one guy did a show called the Sunday Truth Lounge that actually started the day me and you parted ways. He's still doing that show. Me and him have since parted ways over some behind-the-scenes shit that I'm not getting into on another live stream because I already discussed that previously on another show. I'm trying to just put that in the past. I moved to the Cleveland area in Ohio. No longer in the Garden State, which I got to say, I wish I had done this a shitload sooner. And in the past, I don't know, I'll say the past 6 months, shit's been kind of crazy. Things are going good now. Good job. Things looking up. But there was a really low point there at the beginning of the year. I lost my father the day after Christmas and had to travel back to Jersey for the funeral.
And I'm very sorry to hear that.
Thank you. And then right after that, my co-host from that other show, who's still doing it under the same name, he decided to screw me over pretty bad out here in Ohio, where I didn't know where I was, didn't know anybody. So I have to give some special shout outs to Be Rich at Independent Citizen News for helping me find this place I'm currently at. And my good friends To Be Free and K Small. They were big help getting through all that stuff, as well as my cousins who let me crash at their place when I went back to Jersey for a few days. But yeah, it's been an interesting year. Definitely has.
Shit. Sounds like it, man. You've been through quite a bit. I think we've all been through quite a bit. Everybody, like,
What about you? What about you?
Well, what about me? I don't know. So basically, after pretty much within a month after our last show, I don't say my whole world turned upside down, but I started a second job because obviously I wasn't making enough money. I was never able to pay for marketing or advertising our show and anything like that. I keep on talking into this microphone. Hold on, let me put the video on for a second. I keep on talking into this microphone right here. Like, the microphone's hooked up, but it's not. But I'm like fooling myself by having it in front of me because I thought I was going to have the video on, but let me put the microphone away. Anyway. So basically, within a month after our last show, I started a second job. Started that second job. I was working 80 hours a week but after I started that job, within a week, I was working 80 hours a week between that job and my other job. Some weeks even like 88 hours, 90 hours a week. It was pretty rough. But considering I was only working up to that point before that, I was only working like 20 hours at the most a week. So it was definitely a little bit of a strain on me physically. And considering I think I might have Lyme disease, I don't know. I hate even saying it anymore, but I definitely am like tired. It's either Lyme disease or low testosterone or something, and I'm too lazy to go get it checked out. So it's my own damn fault.
You sure you're not just dehydrated? Do you drink enough water?
Yeah, I do drink enough water, but I don't know. What else happened? It's like sad for me to even really think of. I don't like to really think about it too much or go into review mode. So it's not like I have it already. I think a lot of people out there do like review their lives and their last like year, last 5 years, whatever their lives, and go over everything. And it's like, I feel like when you do that, you just stress yourself out and you worry even more. And it's like, it's the past. And sometimes we just got to like let the past be the past. You know what I'm saying?
True that.
But I started working that job, and within a month after working that job, my girlfriend, who you would hear me talk about sometimes here and there on the show, you'd hear her in the background sometimes here and there on the show, she walked out on me and left and was tired of my shit. And oh no, it wasn't within a month of working that job. It was like within a month before working that job, maybe a week or two before I started that job. And I was, like I told you, I was only working 20 hours a week, so I was definitely struggling to get by. And she left, and that's not the only reason she left, not because I was struggling to get by, but she left. It kind of like, I guess you could say, devastated me, because it was the longest relationship I'd ever been in at the time. And like, I did love her. I truly did love her, even though I guess I was guilty of not treating her as well as maybe I should have. But I did love her. And I think looking back on it now, I realize I came to a point where I felt like I was giving up myself to be like the man that she wanted me to be, and be a good man and be a nice man and this and that, and not rock the boat too much. And then I hit a certain point where I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm just going to be me. And you just need to like me and love me. And like, I'm the person like that, like the person you fell in love with is me. So I'm just going to be me, and hopefully you'll love me, and you should love me. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't really work out that way for me. So she ended up leaving. But literally at that exact same time, there was another girl that I was dating probably close to 10 years ago that I was absolutely in love with and proposed to multiple times, and was like, that was the girl for me. And like, we probably only dated for about a year, and then probably stopped talking for a good 8-9 years. And somehow me and her started talking, and it was like a smooth transition. So it was like, yeah, the girl broke my heart. The other girl broke my heart. The girl I was with for 3 years, but it was a smooth transition into kind of talking to this other girl that I had been dating years ago and was absolutely in love with. So it was like, finally, like, she's back. I can't believe she's back. So I didn't really focus on the fact that I was left. But that like distracted me between the working 80 hours a week at a job and the women problems that I was having, and finding like ending up talking to the love of my life, or who I thought was the love of my life. I didn't have time to do anything. Research. I didn't have time to make any videos. I was just kind of like absorbed in myself, and it kind of sucked. But everything ended up not working out. Towards the new year, everything ended up not working out with the girl who was the love of my life. But it was an extreme learning lesson for me, because up to that point, I felt like this girl was like the one for me, and I'm a hopeless romantic, and maybe one day it'll work out. Even though she was married to somebody else and had kids with somebody else, well, maybe one day it'll work out. And like, for a few months there, it was like, oh my God, it is going to work out. This is crazy. I'm like a hopeless romantic, and it's for a good reason, because things do work out sometimes. And it didn't work out. And now, like, I've given up on the hopeless romantic thing. But I've also found that for a long time I was focusing on outside external things instead of focusing on myself and getting myself to somewhere where I need to be. And what I've realized,
not to interrupt, I think we both seem to have that problem.
Yeah, well, I've evaluated myself. The good thing is, from that, I've evaluated myself a lot over the last couple months, and really come to a realization about myself that the whole alternative facts thing and Trump getting in the office really started to make me question everything. I really, like, you know me, I don't want to like follow the crowd at all, and it felt like Democrats were almost becoming conspiracy theorists. And I'm like, well, I identify myself as kind of a conspiracy theorist, and Democrats are becoming like, I'm not a Democrat.
See, okay, yeah, here's a thought on that. Yeah, here's a thought on that. The Democrats, all this time, the past 8 years, there are no conspiracies. These conspiracy theorists are crazy, blah, 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 blah. Now, all of a sudden, they're conspiracy theorists. Don't you love that? Don't you just love
Well, it's honestly it's sad. I did not realize before. I'll be completely honest with you, Brian. Up until maybe a year ago, and think about it, a year ago we probably did our second to last show or third to last show. Literally a year ago, right? So a year ago, I was just starting, and this is crazy to think of. And this really, I had to understand this about myself and really look at myself and how I talked before, how I understood things, and I knew I understood things, and how I was above politics almost sometimes, how I talked that way. And I still don't want to participate in politics or really believe in politics or our political system like that. But I've stepped back, taken a step back, and looked at myself. And like I was about to say, up until a year ago, I did not even know what a liberal or the difference between a liberal and a conservative really was. I didn't know that. Like I didn't really know. I thought there might have been a distinction, or I kind of assumed from what you see on the media and shit like that that there was a distinction. Like liberals are either Democrats or Republicans, and same with conservatives, either Democrats or Republicans. But I didn't know which was which, and like I didn't think I was an idiot for not knowing this. But now all of a sudden,
see, here's the thing with that. It has changed over the years. It kind of varies and fluctuates. It just happens to be that at this point in time, the liberals are siding with the Democratic Party, and the conservatives are leaning toward the Republican Party and a little bit toward the Libertarian Party.
yeah. But I find like I've actually it was two things. Dinesh D'Souza's latest movie, his 2016, I think it's 2016 Hillary's America, or maybe it's 2020 Hillary's America. I don't know that movie. And yeah, another movie called another documentary called Hypernormalization. I watched these two documentaries, and it really started making me understand what liberal ideologies were. And I'm not saying liberal ideologies like the idea that some of the ideas of that spring about from liberalism. I'm not saying that those are necessarily bad things, but I think for a long time I thought they were good things. And a lot of the liberal values were really good things. Bernie Sanders and wealth redistribution. Remember, I wanted to do a wealth redistribution show, and we did one. And I didn't have a compelling argument for wealth redistribution other than, well, it's just right. Nobody should be poor. And that's what I come to realize is there's a lot of liberals, and that's why I feel I used to lean liberal. And there's a lot of liberals out there who kind of have these lofty ideas, but there's nothing concrete. And there's no like, okay, well, tell me about them. How do you think that could be implemented? Given today's system, how can we get from today's system to that? Like, there's no idea. Just like, no, we should just have it. And it's like people who want $15 an hour. Well, do you want to discuss what that could actually mean? You want $15 an hour, but that could actually mean that those same retailers that you're forcing to pay or you're demanding pay you $15 an hour might move towards a technological revolution a little bit faster, and you lose your $15 an hour.
No, actually.
So
there's an even worse argument for that. You want $15 an hour. Okay, now these employers, let's say there's a law passed, national minimum wage, $15 an hour. Mm-hmm. Now these employers have to then increase cost of their products and services in order to pay you that $15 an hour. So you may see a decrease in hours, a decrease in benefits, an increase in the price of goods. So that $15 an hour, here's what's going to happen. You're going to get bumped into a higher tax bracket and have to deal with inflation on top of it. So really, you're going to be either at the same level or poorer than you were before you got that raise.
Do you know what I want to do right now? And this is going to be a sad moment. It's going to be a sad moment maybe for you, maybe for any listeners out there that may have followed this show from the beginning and kind of know us personally and things like this. I want to put an apology out there to a Mr. I will just call him a Mr. Monahan. All right. And it's not a full blown, hey, I'm sorry for every single thing I've ever said to you or anything like that. But he often wanted concrete facts, and he wanted, and I'm not saying it, so sometimes we would give him concrete facts and it still wasn't enough. And that still aggravated me. And that's where I guess my apology falls short. But I award him, or I admire him desiring concrete facts instead of kind of airy-fairy ideas and nothing behind them, you know? And
I should also point out, he is one of the people who has been mentioning to me over the past year that he would like to see us come back and start doing this show again, because as much as he didn't always agree with everything we said, he enjoyed listening to our rants on these subjects.
Yeah, yeah. And I honestly would like to have him on at some point in the future. I think that would be cool. Maybe not for a month or two, but I think it would be cool to have him on, and especially about certain specific topics. I think he would have some pretty good input. And I'd also like Mr. Fadden out there to maybe think about coming on, because I'm kind of calling him out a little bit. I've had a few conversations with him in the last week or two, and we'll just say he's a moderate and likes to call himself a moderate. But I think personally, and I'm not trying to offend him, but I think that's a cop out. I think saying you're moderate is a cop out. Like I will admit I was copping out by saying I didn't believe in the Democratic or Demopublican cake and candle or Republicrats out there. I didn't believe in that. It was two tiers of the same system.
I got a few beers down. And if you're not offending people, there has to be an opposing viewpoint. I'll be the one to offend people. He's an indoctrinated liberal Democrat shill.
Yeah, and he doesn't see that he defends liberal ideals, and that's why I want to bring him on, and I want to ask him some true questions. And honestly, I'll be 100% and upfront and honest right now. I want to ask him a few questions, and I want to do my research, and I want to come to the table with my facts. That's why I'm not saying I don't want him on in the next 2 weeks or something. I want to put together a few questions, and I want to come to the table with my facts, and I want to see how he handles these facts. That's all.
Let me point out. Let me give you an idea how that's going to go. Because about a year or two ago, it might have been last year, I forget now, they all run together, but Mr. Monahan was up in New Jersey for his birthday, and we all went to the bar, and Mr. Fadden showed up, and within 5 minutes, it went from, hey, how you been, long time no see, to a full-blown political argument to where even Mr. Monahan was telling him, shut the hell up.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to go. That's how it's going to go.
But I don't like that. I don't like, and that's one thing that we got to encourage. We got to encourage healthy debate on this show, because from now on.
No, that's the thing. We tried to healthy debate him, and there is no winning. It's what he believes is fact. Even if you have solid 100% proof to dispute it, your proof is flawed. Whatever. He's right. Automatically, you're wrong.
Well, see, there's got to come a point where you realize a troll when there is a troll, and I'm not necessarily calling him a troll, but there's got to come a point where you let the argument be, because you can present facts. And like, here's one fact, and I'm not trying to share really any of our personal conversation with anybody, but one fact that I had brought up, and yes, I was jumping around with facts, but one fact that I brought up is that the media is liberal, and he tried saying, no, it's not, it's conservative like a motherfucker. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like mainstream media, Fox is the only one that's conservative, and that they're so Republican, it's almost hard to watch. But every other news station is liberal.
Fox still totes the party line. They still say what they're told to say.
Yes, of course they do, but every other news station is liberal, right?
Yeah, 100%, yeah. So
every other news station is liberal, and then when it comes to other media, it's like liberal all the way. What's her name? Meryl Streep and the Oscars or the Grammys or whatever the hell it was. And the one example I brought up to him was Tim Allen and his show Last Man Standing, and how that was canceled. And I was like, he's a conservative. He makes some comments about how you can't make comments in Hollywood these days without being a conservative. You can't be a conservative and make a comment these days, a common sense comment, and you'll be labeled. It's like 1930s Germany around here. Like they want to round you up. And he literally got his show canceled within like a week after that. And people were...
That's why. And there's going to be a few shout-outs involved here, I guess. But if anyone really wants unbiased news, like fully unbiased, where they're just giving you the facts, what's going on, you have to go to the alternative media. Go to YouTube, Independent Citizen News, Be Rich, To Be Free, TMTT...
See, I don't even think that though, bro. I think we're
news. Go to Underground World News. Dabu 7.
We're in an age where people can be their own news. I believe we're in an age where people can be their own.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I feel
you don't need the mainstream media to tell you what to think, because you honestly don't want to be thinking what they're trying to make you think, because it's all flawed. It's part of their agenda. They're being told what to say. They're controlled, and they're toting a liberal party line 99% of the time.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying with what's his face, Mr. F. I won't even use his full name again, even though everybody knows who I'm talking about. What do you call it? I told him like they just canceled his conservative show. It was like a conservative themed show, and he's like, "Well, it had bad ratings." And I was like, I literally had to pull up the thing that said it was the second highest rated comedy this year on ABC, and he didn't respond to that. And it's like, well, how come like it's convenient not to respond to my facts and then try and like call me out as I don't know like what I'm talking about, or I don't have facts, or that I want to ignore his facts. That's what he's trying to say, and it's like that's not the truth. And I think that's like a liberal thing is feelings are facts to them. So
It is.
you can't argue.
Exactly.
You can't argue their facts, even though they're only feelings, and you can't even try and tell them that it's just feelings. I don't know. I hate it, dude.
No, modern day liberalism, that's exactly what it is. And none of them will admit that to you, but they might not even be able to admit it to themselves, but that's exactly how it is. Now, a good friend of mine, Eben Wings, was going full-blown liberal on me the past few years and was like full-on Bernie supporter out the ass, 100% feminist, whole 9 yards. I just, about, what was it, a week or two ago, she's telling me, oh my God, I finally, I can't believe it. I've been wrong this whole time. And she started looking into some of the shit that that me and you have been looking into and the things we're aware of and been discussing all this time. And she's like, oh shit, I was wrong. You're right.
I think she saw the red pill.
Shit, exactly. That's exactly her words as well. And it was one of those things where it's not listening to me say something or listening to you or Dabu 7 or anybody. It was, or Alex Jones or anybody like that. It was on the inside coming to that realization from the inside, witnessing it with her own eyes and seeing, oh shit, you're right. This is bullshit. So that's kind of a cool moment. So people are waking up, and they're waking up on their own because they're seeing from the inside that, wait a second, this liberal movement is tearing this country apart. I don't want to be a part of this bullshit.
Well, Bill Nye don't have things. Bill Nye don't. I used to like Bill Nye. Me and Rich have actually talked about Bill Nye and how we liked him when he debated Ken Ham at the Evolution Museum or whatever, or the Anti-Evolution Museum, whatever the hell he calls it, the Noah's Ark. But we actually liked Bill Nye, and we liked talking. Me and Rich have talked about Bill Nye on the show, like we like him. He was our shit when we were kids, and now it's like I cannot stand Bill Nye. Did you see the episode of the show, or at least that weird song?
No. Oh, I just heard that he was into some weird shit, and then I found out that he has like one bullshit science degree. Like Dolph Lundgren is more qualified to be a science guy than Bill Nye is.
Well, it's honestly sad, and it's like, I don't know. There's so many different things we could touch on, dude. Like the world is going mad. Honestly, the world is going more mad as we become more advanced. The world is going more mad.
Yeah, we can get into some of the madness, but first, it's been a year since we've been on the air, and 2016 saw a lot of celebrities taken from us. They've passed on to whatever you may believe, heaven or the next life or whatever your belief is. They passed away, passed on. But January came in like a great ball of fire because the top of the Bilderberg group, one of the elite, Mr. David Rockefeller, thank you God, or Satan, whoever was responsible for that, is no longer with us.
Yeah.
So I propose a toast to celebrate the loss of David Rockefeller.
What happened to those damn, like, the Hangouts used to have, like, shit that you can make noises and sounds and shit. Like, doesn't have that shit anymore? That shit used to be so cool. Yeah,
I'm aware of. I think you have to have your own soundboard for that.
Toast, my man, toast. Yeah, I hear you. I'm pretty I don't want to say I'm pretty happy because I'm not pretty happy when anybody dies, and that's why.
Normally, I'm not either. You know what? Normally, I'm not either, because like right around that same time, my father passed away. But you know what? This motherfucker has done so much to fuck the people of the planet Earth. Fuck you. I don't miss you. I don't want you to rest in peace. Uh, Fuck you. Fuck your soul. Good fucking riddance.
Yep. What are you gonna do though? You know, he's gone though. It's honestly, I guess it's a good thing that he's gone, but I don't know. I still hold that, and like that's what I'm saying. I still have like, and I'm not gonna call them liberal values. I call them more my religious values, my religious beliefs. But I still believe every soul is peaceful when it comes down to it, and is God when it comes down to it. Even David Rockefeller, even Hitler. You know, I still believe that, and it's crazy because honestly, a lot of the things that I watch now, like some of the people I watch are very strongly religious. Like conservative people are very strongly religious and believe in like Christianity and that Islam is very inherently bad. And honestly, I think that's a good stepping stone or a good segue into talking about Islam. I have a lot of thoughts on Islam personally, and I can definitely tell you that's one of my evolving subjects because I can tell you a year and a half ago, I believed Islam was a peaceful religion, and I would have defended it to the teeth because every Islamic person I've known has been a peaceful person, except for one who wanted to get himself a rocket launcher. But other than him, every Muslim person I know was a very peaceful person. But what are your thoughts on Islam, Brian?
I know a few who are.
Not radical Islamic terrorism, just Islam.
I know a few people who are pretty cool people. They're chill. They're down to earth. But the majority, I mean, if you read the Quran, behead, like I'm paraphrasing, but behead those who do not praise Allah.
Oh, have you read the Quran though? I'm just being objective here.
I haven't read the whole thing, just parts of it, excerpts.
Okay, do you have the Quran?
No, I was looking it up online.
Okay, so you've read excerpts online. And excerpts can be taken from the Bible, and I'm sure people that are how I was a year and a half ago would have this argument that excerpts could be taken from the Bible to prove Christianity is just as demented as the Quran, or the Bible is just as demented as the Quran. You know?
Just all you gotta do is take out the parts of the Jews torturing Christ, and there you go. Like,
well,
yeah,
there's stoning your children, things like this. There's definitely bad things in the Bible. But here's honestly, this is the difference that I've come to a realization of from somebody who would have defended Islam to the teeth, or Muslim people to the teeth, and I still do defend most Muslim people as being good people. But I think the Muslim religion has how the Christian religion has a Westboro Baptist problem, and it's not that major, but I think it's probably a little more major than anybody really realizes. You know, there's definitely like racist, homophobic Christian people out there, and I think it's bigger than just the Westboro Baptist Church. But I think that pales in comparison to the amount of Muslims that are out there. And I personally don't think there's that many Muslims in this country who are actively following this type of Muslim or this type of Islam ideology. But I think in other parts of the world, it's very rampant for this type of Muslim ideology to take hold of Muslim people in majorities and turn them into radical. That does not mean that every single one of them are going to go do something radical, but it increases the percentage of having some nut that's like, you know what, I'm going to do it. Or having some nut that's like, you know what, I'm going to go join ISIS. Like, whereas in the United States, we don't necessarily have that kind of an issue with Christianity. And we don't have that kind of an issue with Christianity anywhere else in the world, really, that I know of. You know?
I'd agree with that.
Does that make sense? So I don't know. That's how my kind of views on Muslims have changed. But I'm still going to say every Muslim I personally have known has been a peaceful person, except that one. But you know what? That except that one, no more do I just say except that one and just kind of hope nobody really focuses or picks up on that. You know what? Except that one. But that one that I knew wanted grenades, a rocket launcher, wanted himself an Uzi, was telling me he could get me automatic weapons. And it's like that dude, and for anybody like feds or anything listening, this was literally 20 years ago, and I'm sure the dude's either back in his home country or dead by now. I don't fucking know, and I haven't heard from him in 20 years and don't want to, right? But this dude was interested in like some fucking terrorist type shit. And I was blown away because 5 years before that, like the last time I seen him, 5 years before it, he was interested in partying and just being like a regular, almost like older teenager and wanting to party and drink. And I was blown away how he could go from that to wanting to get weapons and do damage and hurt people. And it's like that blew my mind. And at the time, I didn't associate it with Muslim. I associated it with some ideology that got a hold of him. And unfortunately, that ideology is under the umbrella of the Muslim religion. And it does not mean that it taints the entire Muslim religion. And I still get a little bit aggravated when I see people like Gavin McInnes talking about all Muslims, not all Muslims, but a majority of Muslims being evil people. And I still don't think we know that for sure. We just know that a majority of terrorists right now, at least terrorists that are being broadcast on Western media, are Muslim. Unfortunately, right?
Okay. A majority of the terrorists. Now, we have to take into account the fact that only half of those terrorist events are actually being carried out by real
terrorist events. Thank you. Yes, I think about that. I thought about that with Manchester. Do you want to go into Manchester at all or no?
I fully believe Manchester was a false flag.
I'm not so sure, Brian.
I believe elements of MI6 carried out the Manchester attack.
See, I've been, and maybe I'm not so sure because part of my evolution over the past year is to reject certain tropes or memes of being a conspiracy theorist. I still believe in some certain conspiracies, but one of the tropes or memes that I feel like I need personally to reject is when there is a disaster to immediately want to have a skeptical eye towards it. And that does not mean that I'll never have a skeptical eye towards it, or I don't believe that any tomfoolery or foul play could have been involved by our own government or any false flag activity could be possible.
I won't tell you what to think, but here's a fact, okay? Before any names of any victims or missing persons were released by the police, the media had a list of quote-unquote missing people with their pictures. And one mother in Manchester got very offended and threatened to sue the newspaper because one of the pictures of someone who, quote, was missing following the Manchester explosion was a girl that had been killed 4 years earlier.
Okay. Do you believe that it didn't happen, though? Is that...
Oh, no, definitely happened. There's a difference between
people died
and a staged event. People did die.
Okay.
But I don't believe it was to the extent that the media is portraying it.
You don't believe 22 people died?
The last report I heard said over 50.
Over 50? I heard it was 22 and like hundreds injured.
I heard 19 originally. I could believe 19. I don't believe over 50.
Well, here's my question, bro.
You have people coming out suing the newspaper saying, why are you using an image of my daughter? That's fucked up. She died 4 years ago. She was not at this Manchester concert. What the hell's going on here? I'm suing you. That's a red flag right there to me.
Yeah, it definitely is a red flag, and I can understand, and I think there are a lot of red flags. Speaking of, I don't know why I keep on thinking of this, and I think it's one of the ones that you can't really ignore and was used as something to attack conspiracy theorists on was Sandy Hook. And how there are a lot of red flags around Sandy Hook, and it didn't seem like the investigative media or investigative journalists out there had any interest whatsoever in investigating any of those red flags. And we were just told to accept the story that is being put out about it. And okay, I can accept it if there weren't all these like oddities and weird things about your official story and changing the story and this and that, and that one, I feel like that you can almost say, I don't know if it didn't happen, but you can almost say that something. I
have three key points on Sandy Hook. I'm not going to get into everything I've looked at on Sandy Hook.
Yeah, make it quick. I don't really want to touch on Sandy Hook too long.
Okay, first of all, the school they showed you was not Sandy Hook. It was a different school. The real Sandy Hook Elementary was 3 blocks away. Second of all, there were at least 5 identified crisis actors who appeared on the news following Sandy Hook, giving interviews saying that their kids were killed.
Yeah, look at Skip.
Third, there were eyewitness teachers who said that It was soldiers in body armor firing shots, not, a student or a random stranger.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 points.
I like your points. But what I was trying to say, Brian, is, do you believe that with any of these terrorist acts that it is possible in this day and age for a genuine, organic terrorist act to occur? And I'm not saying one that's not influenced by ISIS or by any other radical group, but do you believe that it's possible? And I guess that's where kind of my thought on not jumping to being so skeptical at every terrorist act that there is. But do you believe that it's possible that there, in this day and age, there can be a terrorist act that is actually carried out and that is actually does not have there's no false flag?
At this point, no, I don't believe there is, because of the surveillance state we live in. Your phone
I
listens
believe
to you,
that
your
too,
TV,
honestly, Brian.
your client listen to you.
I
They
believe
listen
that too, but then Brian, I think of very bad people out there, very large criminals, El Chapo, even though they call it El Chapo, so maybe that could kind of destroy my point right there. But you think about the NSA, and the NSA has the ability, and nobody likes to talk about this, Brian. And this is honestly what I want to get into just a little bit, either next or next episode. Okay, so you decide whether, if you don't want to touch on it now, we definitely got to touch on it for 5-10 minutes next episode. But with the NSA has the capability of quantum computing. I don't know how many quantum computers they have. NASA has a quantum computer, and they're pretty proud of it and advertise it, and there's articles out there about it. I believe Harvard, or one of those, either Harvard or University of California, one of them has, maybe it's Stanford, has a quantum computer. I believe personally these giant warehouses, data storage warehouses that NASA built, or not NASA, the NSA built, were giant stored data warehouses that they could also put quantum computers in and have them hidden from the public eye. And nobody's allowed in these NSA storage warehouses. Why would you be allowed in there? That's top secret American intelligence information, right? But with these quantum computers in there, especially if they put 2 or 3 quantum computers in there linked together, they could find anybody, anywhere, literally extremely easily. If you understand the power of quantum computing and literally what it's going to do for our everyday lives within the next 20 to 30 years, you'll understand that they have the ability to find anybody they want. So I think you're honestly right, Brian. When it comes down to it, anybody who's truly, they can set up keywords. They can literally have a pretty smart program set up inside that computer, or even an artificial intelligence that looks for things like that. What?
We've known for 20, 30 plus years about the Echelon program that would identify keywords and flag that conversation. Now, if you know about something, this is one thing I've come to realize, anything they let you know, they're 50 years advanced over that already.
I believe it's 20 to 30, but you're 100% right.
Going back 20 to 30 years, we learned about the Echelon program. You think they don't have things now that can trump that?
Well, Brian, I'm going to tell you one thing right now, and I could get myself in trouble for saying this, and I really hope I don't. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to take high risk, high reward in life. You know what I'm saying? But I'll just put it this way, and to anybody listening, we only have 2 viewers at the moment, and it's a little bit. I don't want to say it's sad, because this is probably what we averaged when we did the shows before. So hey, we're right back where we were. Good shit. Anyway. Everybody that's listening to this, anybody listens back to this, I don't know. I hope the video doesn't get pulled for this. I don't think it will, because who the hell am I to even know what I'm talking about? But I can guarantee you, every online interaction that you do, any technology interaction that you do on a device that has access to the internet, whether or not you are connected to the internet, or whether or not that device, you've set up internet on it. If it has the internal ability to connect wirelessly to the internet, it will connect to the internet, and it's not going to say, hey, we're now connected to the internet streaming to the NSA. No, but your information, like all technology, has been backdoored, has been has basically been engineered to have a backdoor that's sending all information. That's why those data warehouses were needed, because they needed somewhere to store. Come on, if we can put terabytes on a small little handheld thing right now, you don't think that they need warehouses because they need literally like Google bytes. You know what I'm saying? Not Google like the search engine, but Google GOOGOL. Like they need all of that because they're collecting everything, and they have guarantee. I'm telling you, they got quantum computers that is going through that shit. But every single thing, every single American citizen, I can't say around the world, but maybe that's what they're trying to do because quantum computers could do it. But every single American citizen, all your interactions are being watched. Keep that in mind. You can call it the all-seeing eye, you can call it Big Brother, but you're being fucking watched. And if you want to fucking do some truly nefarious shit, you're asking for trouble. That's all I can say. Because there is an all-seeing eye now that watches us.
Actually, you're not going to get in any trouble for saying that because the circles I associate with and have associated with, that's pretty much common knowledge.
No, okay, the social circles you associate with, but the circles that I've associated with are, and I'm not saying everybody in that circle, no, not at all, but a few individuals in that circle actually are privy to that kind of information and that knowledge. And oh shit. Oh, I thought my computer just shut off. Oh, that was hilarious. Brian, yeah, my screensaver just came on, but I got it to just like kind of to dim the screen or dim the monitor or to black when it's before it goes to the screensaver. And the monitor just dimmed to black. I'm like, they're out to get me. They're going to get me. All right, I'll stop.
Actually, they do stuff like that. I've seen.
I know they do, but that's what I'm saying. They'll fuck with you. And that's why I believe, I've always believed, and this is one of my conspiracy theory things or conspiracy theory mindset things that I've had in my head for a long time, and I've never admitted to anybody or even wanted to tell anybody because I would just sound like a tinfoil wearing hat dude. But as a conspiracy theorist, and I believe it's becoming more and more evident and more obvious and more true, so I don't really seem as much of a conspiracy theorist saying it, but as a conspiracy theorist, I've always believed that I've been watched. But not just me, everybody's being watched, but I've been watched. And the things that I've decided to start doing since 2011, 2012, the videos and the activities that I do online and shit, have caused me to literally be, through algorithms of some corporation or entity somewhere, the algorithms that have noticed what I've done have kept me from having any kind of exposure. And the only way that I could ever have general organic exposure is through advertising. Like I literally have to pay. Where I know there's other people out there, I've witnessed other people out there with their organic content. I've watched them grow it slowly, but I've watched them grow it without marketing and advertising it. And I feel like algorithms have kind of shut me down because there's been things I've talked about that are just taboo and shouldn't need to be talked about or shouldn't be talked about, period. You know? And half of it's just conspiracy nonsense. Even though some of it might be true, half of that stuff is just conspiracy nonsense that anybody else is saying, you know? Now I do sound a little paranoid, don't I?
It's just the tip of the iceberg. I've seen live streams from like-minded individuals who were out at events that were live streaming, and if something was going on,
yeah, but you know what you got to be careful of, Brian?
Their feed would be shut down. Like I saw, I remember B. Rich in D.C. for was it the inauguration? No, it was I forget what he was down there for. It was something. He was down there for. He was live streaming, and he walked in. He's being followed the whole time by a fucking Secret Service cat team. And the only reason anyone even realized that he was being followed is Dabu 7 was listening to the police scanners. And he's watching B. Rich's live stream, and it's on the police scanners. Like, yeah, we're on him. You know, he's got this, he's got that. Okay, he just walked into the porta potty, and B. Rich had just walked into the porta potty. He's like, okay, he's coming out now. Team B is on him, whatever. And like they were literally following him. He's just a fucking journalist. So I get, yeah, they're watching everything. They know everything. And if they want to shut you down, they can shut you down.
But what you have to be careful with also is when you start talking about this, it's like, I think some people, once you can admit that, like we just said, like if they want to shut you down, they'll shut you down. A lot of people can jump to that conclusion. All right, my computer's running slow today. Well, they're just fucking with me today. They're just fucking with my computer. And it's very easy to go down this like almost psychotic break route of I'm being fucked with. And next thing you know, you find yourself calling yourself a targeted individual, and they're using weapons against you. And I'm not saying every single person that says they're targeted individual has nothing going on to them and there's no interaction from the government with them. But I really honestly believe 98% of those people have some sort of a mental problem. And the easiest thing for somebody with a mental problem to do is to deny they have a mental problem. And if there's symptoms, well, that's because there's something else outside of them that they can point the finger at. And I really feel bad for those people because they'll refuse help every day of the week. And they'll have doctors tell them that I believe that you may have a mental condition and you believe you're being affected by some technology outside or the government. And I believe you may just have a mental condition. And they're like, see, he's brainwashed by the system. And it's like, well, no, that's actually the doctor just trying to be honest with his patient and tell him, I believe you're suffering from extreme paranoia and maybe even schizophrenia. You know what I'm saying? And it's like the people refuse to understand.
That happened to Scott Stapp, the singer from Creed. He had a total mental breakdown. He somehow convinced himself that the Secret Service was trying to hold the president hostage, and he actually called the White House to report it. It's pretty funny if you listen to him tell the story now. But he got in quite a bit of trouble for that. No, the people I'm referring to that this was happening to, it's pretty much 100% solid. They're being.
I'm not saying it didn't happen or what I was saying before you, like that's the point I was trying to make before you mentioned that story is it can go from, like we said, like we obviously know that whatever is recording all this information or whatever is the intelligence apparatus can fuck with you and shut your computer down and all this. What I was trying to say is it can be very a slippery slope to go from my internet slow today or my computer slow today or for some reason I got the blue screen of death. It can be very easy to slide from that into I'm being targeted. You know what I'm saying? And go through, if somebody has a mental pre-capacity towards something, towards paranoia, that could be something that's bad for them to even suggest ever to somebody that, oh, well, you could be being watched, you know?
Actually, yeah, I once rented a room from a schizophrenic woman who refused to have a house phone because she believed that I forget what she called them, but basically government doctors were listening to every conversation and recording her conversations and fucking with her. So she had her phone shut off and never got one back.
Yeah.
And this was a case where I'm just sitting there like, no, bullshit.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people, dude. I've known somebody personally very close to me that thought that the FBI was watching them and following them. And then, like, come to find out once I actually start looking into conspiracies and certain conspiracy theories and certain documentaries and things like that, that the FBI actually does do things like this. It took me a little while to understand, well, maybe that person that was telling me that the FBI was doing this to them had actually seen some documentaries or some things like this and just decided that that's what was happening to them without any actual, like, evidence that that was happening. It just seemed convenient, or it seemed like that could be plausible to as happening to them, even though it really was not happening to them, you know? Like, what do you call it? The person that was close to me thought that they had a tracking device installed on their car, but literally there was never a tracking device installed on their car, but they had all the detail of how it was put there, when it was put there, and this and that. And it's like, I don't know. I think we have a mental health issue in this country, and I hate to say this because I feel like it did also affect me, and I'm not saying I have a mental health problem, but I feel like conspiracy theories can be dangerous for people with mental health issues. And I think we need to try and remove and I think it's a good thing because I think millennials are kind of doing it. The younger generation is kind of doing it, but we need to remove some of the stigma from conspiracy theories so that not necessarily remove the stigma and everybody just has to accept that they all exist or that they all don't, but remove the stigma as far as people don't know about them. And because when somebody starts losing their mind, we don't know what's true or not. And sometimes
basically, the long and short of what you're saying is separate the conspiracy theories from the conspiracy facts.
Kind of. Do you remember what I was starting to talk about a year ago? Objective conspiracy theory?
Yes.
I've kind of moved forward with all of my looking into and research with that in bold print in the forefront of my head. objectiveness, and it's actually kept me. And I kind of feel a little bit bad and feel like I've missed out on a couple things, but it's kept me from really diving too deep into conspiracy theories. I've dived deep into a lot of conspiracy theories, and I feel like I've ignored a lot of what else is going on and how the world has evolved around me. And I've been focused on things that have kind of, a lot of the conspiracy theories we follow, for the most part, change, and certain details may change and certain new things might be added to them, or kind of stay the same. You know, the chemtrails thing has kind of been a thing for at least the last 15, 20 years, right? You know, once I look into something, my personal feeling is once I look into something, I feel like I'm not doing any justice to myself to continue to look into the exact same things. I'm not saying they don't interest me anymore. I'll never come back to them, but I feel like I was missing out on other things. Like I told you, I didn't understand what the difference between a liberal and a conservative was. And for literally 2-3 years, I studied politics. And yes, I might have thought politics were bullshit, but I should still know, if I'm somebody who's studying politics, I should still know what the difference between a liberal and a conservative is, and at least what a couple liberal values and a couple conservative values are. And I didn't. Had I known that, I would have realized that I actually have democratic values ingrained in me. I have these liberal values ingrained in me, and I don't like that. I don't want to have Republican or democratic values ingrained in me. I want my own independent values ingrained in me, you know?
Yeah.
And I realize I've been coerced by like liberal upbringing. Like, you know, like school is basically liberal, you know, public school is basically liberal as fuck. I was brought up in that, you know, media. I watched media for the first 10 years before I woke up and started researching and shit. I watched TV and played video games, pretty much fucking all liberal shit there, you know. You're indoctrinated in this world unless you have somebody smart around you who cares about you and you care about their opinion enough. You're not going to learn that like conservative shit. Some of it, I'm sorry to say, it makes is common sense. You know, like I had these conflicting ideas and I didn't realize how some of them are just asinine. You know, like I believed in pro-choice, but you know what? You know what pro-choice did for me? Pro-choice led me to I wanted my child, and the chick told me no. It's my body. I'll do what I want. And I told her, well, that's my child inside of you, and I want to raise it, and I want a child, and I want my child, and I don't want to kill my child, regardless of how old it is. No, my baby, or it's my body. I don't want it. I don't want to carry it. And yeah, maybe it's not fair. Maybe we could get into that argument someday that it's not fair that a woman, if she doesn't want to, she'd have to carry a baby that's inside of her body. It's her body. But you know what? That's a fucking life. And I've always believed that shit. And come to realize, like, there's a lot of liberals who are pro-choice, and I was kind of pro-choice and still somewhat still feel a woman should have some say in her own body, but I still feel it also needs to be looked at as that's a fucking life. When does the soul go into that thing? And when are we murdering a child by aborting it? You know? Like that's a conversation that needs to be had, and I feel like there's a lot of topics like that, and that's where I'd honestly like to kind of go with the show, Brian, if you'll allow me, or if you'll go with me, is to find a middle ground. Okay, abortion between pro-choice and pro-life. There's got to be some sort of a middle ground, and that doesn't mean like let's find a point where we all agree that the soul sits in the body, but let's talk about this shit without arguing and yelling and getting like loud and wanting to get violent with each other. That's what I can't believe, is that liberals are getting fucking violent. Like somebody needs to step up and say like, we need to be peaceful and debate shit and sometimes agree to disagree. But let's debate in a fucking adult manner and not be little children and stomp our feet and yell and raise our voice and get real loud and upset when we don't agree with what somebody says or if we don't want to hear it. That's fucking bullshit, you know?
I agree 110%.
All right, well, thanks, bro. I think that was a great show. I got to wrap it up because Mom Dukes has got the cancer. Got to take care of her. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So, I don't know. Here's one thing. This is, I guess, the last thing I wanted to say. Just because I'm kind of abandoning a lot of the liberal values that I kind of like, I held true, and I learned a lot of my liberal values from Conversations with God, which is like a spiritual book, not a liberal book. But it made me understand that we should value all life and yada yada. And I saw how liberal values kind of lined up to that. And that doesn't mean that I was a liberal, but I adhered to some liberal values because I thought it was right. And I'm starting to realize that that was all just co-opting. And some of that shit is bullshit. And some of it isn't realistic. And okay, and that's where like I'm coming back to being devil's advocate here and not necessarily a conservative. Okay, well, if it's not realistic, where do we go? How do we get to a point where it can be realistic instead of saying, well, no, that's not at all realistic? How can we go from what we have to that realistically? You know, instead of just like, because I see a lot of conservatives like Ben Shapiro, and I love Ben Shapiro to death. I think he's probably the smartest guy out there, especially the smartest conservative out there putting content out. But he'll say certain things are impossible. Well, there are certain things that are impossible. There's only two fucking sexes. I'm sorry. Gender can be some social construct or whatever the fuck they want to call it, but there's two fucking biological sexes. And that's what I said earlier and didn't want to get into, but you know it's true. There's male, there's female. If you want to get into the whole chromosome things, I think there's what, 8 other chromosomal anomalies or genetic anomalies that are possible, but there's males and females, and you can argue that there's what?
I identify as an AH-64 Apache attack helicopter.
All right, so you know what? Next episode, we're busting out. We're starting the next episode with pronouns, man.
Except on Tuesdays, where I identify as Han Solo.
All right. I identify as a fucking a blown out butthole for the day. I'm fluid. All right.
Oh shit.
I don't know, Brian. I think we should bust into pronouns with our next show. I think that would be a good transition point. That doesn't mean we got to talk about social justice warrior bullshit or anything like that the whole show, but I think it's a good place to start, you know? And I think we gotta. We don't have to, and I don't think we should focus necessarily completely on that. But we got to find a middle ground between liberals and conservatives, because if nobody tries to do it, liberals are gonna fucking are gonna literally like do some real damage or really hurt somebody. You know.
One thing we did not touch on. We're on the verge of nuclear war with North Korea. We've sent 3 armadas off of their coast. We've intercepted Russian bombers off the coast of Alaska several times. And the local news is not mentioning that, so I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Do you know what I believe?
There's people out there who will give you that news. You just have to go look for it. But we're running short on time, so that's all I have to say on that subject. I
personally believe, and I'm not saying it's right, Brian, but I believe if we do go to war with North Korea, which I believe there's just as good of a chance of us going to war with North Korea as a year and a half ago, there was as much of a chance with us going to war with Russia. And I still believe that was very not likely. I think Trump actually saved us, believe it or not, from going to or having
I agree with that.
An altercation with Russia. But I think with Trump in office, we get into an altercation or an actual war, any kind of a war or what is it? Something of foreign aggression or whatever the fuck they call it. If we get into something with North Korea, I think Trump's going to carpet bomb them to fucking hell. And if that don't work, he's going to nuke them.
Here's the thing.
Nuke them off the planet.
North Korea has the largest standing army in the world. They outnumber us something obscene, like 8-1 or 12-1 as far as soldiers go, as far as people on the boots on the ground. If they invaded us, they'd make it all the way to Tennessee before we stopped them. But they also have been testing intercontinental ballistic missiles. Yeah, a lot of these tests have failed, but those are the tests we're hearing about. So
all right, Brian, this is where I want to go for the next episode. Whenever we do it, I hope it'll be in the next week or two, right? This is where I really would like to go is who is not the world. You know, I've looked at that for a long time. I call myself Notice, right?
I believe I was aware of that.
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty sure you were. And it started out Nick of the United States, like POTUS. Ha ha ha, Notice. That's so great. And then I made it, you know what? No, screw that. I'm Nick of the Universal Soul. Well, for the time being, I'm going back to Nick of the United States. And I'm not saying that the rest of the world doesn't matter, but I think the United States, like, we're a fucking dumpster fire right now. And somebody's got to fucking at least start pissing on this shit. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. We're not putting this dumpster fire out. But somebody, like, if we start pissing on it, we can get a nice little movement of people pissing on it, and maybe we can put this shit out. Who knows? Probably not. I might be a little too optimistic here, but still, I want to figure out next week, Brian, or on our next show, who's enemy number one of the United States from an objective standpoint. Is it North Korea? Is it Russia? Is it social justice warriors? Is it liberals? Because I don't really necessarily consider social justice warriors and liberals exactly the same, but I think they're both just as dangerous to our country and to free speech and the values that we hold so dear and our founders hold so dear. You know what I'm saying? But and I think there's a couple other things. You know, I don't want to say bath salts. I think that's circa 2 years ago. But I think there's a couple other things out there that are dangerous. And I guess we could even throw Trump in there. I don't necessarily believe I would vote that Trump is the biggest enemy to the United States. Shit, he's our leader. But
I honestly, I don't want to throw Trump in there just because he's the first president since Kennedy to actually keep some of his campaign promises. And
Brian, I'm coming to find out Kennedy was full of shit.
True. Like Kennedy, along the way, changed his views once he saw shit from the inside. But that's a whole nother topic to begin with. That's what got him shot. We'll get into that another time if we haven't already. But Trump is basically doing the thing. Your average American will say Trump's the enemy, Trump is an idiot, Trump's going to cause a war. The thing is, the things he's doing are the things that need to be done. He's undoing what the shadow government, quote unquote, the controlled puppets have been putting into place. So I don't really see him as the enemy of America. I would have trouble arguing that he is.
Yeah, I don't know if I would see him as the enemy of America either. I'm still not going to sit here and say that I think he's doing a great job. I'm definitely not going to, not where I was a year ago, huh?
I didn't say he's doing a great job. I said he's doing some of the right things. He's fixing he's unfucking what the last three presidents have fucked, or at least he's trying to.
He's trying to, Brian, but he's also doing some pretty shady fucking shit, if you ask me, dude. We know, being conspiracy theorists, we know 9/11 was perpetrated by the Saudis, correct?
It was funded by the Saudis.
Okay.
It was perpetrated by elements of the CIA and MI6.
Well, who the fuck just went and gave the fucking Saudis fucking a shitload of arms?
Okay, yeah, I see your point there.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, what the fuck are you doing, dude? I'm literally was starting to come around on him, and I'm like, wait, he's sitting there with the fucking Saudi royalty and a fucking arms deal, the largest arms deal ever in history? You fucking kidding me? The Saudis are fucking evil. They don't use arms for fucking good all the time.
Yeah, that kind of threw me for a loop too. I don't really know what he's trying to pull there.
And then I'm looking into the Kushners, and I'm like, the Kushners are involved in some pretty fucked up shit. But then again, the Jared Kushner's building is 666 New York Avenue or whatever. Like that fucks me up a little bit too. That's like, he's like the new George Soros. Jared Kushner is either the new George Soros or Henry Kissinger. I guess he's probably closer to Henry Kissinger. Am I wrong?
Not really, but on the topic of George Soros,
forcing his way into there. He's rich as fuck. He's forcing his way in.
I just want to throw this out there. Now that David Rockefeller is gone, I request whatever higher power is up there. If it's not the one I believe in, if I'm wrong, I apologize. If I'm right, I love you. Either way, whatever higher power hears me right now, take George Soros next, please.
Brian, I can get you in the Illuminati. I've been scouted by the Illuminati.
Have you?
Yeah, I can get you in that shit. That was another part of my evolution shit, dude. And I'm not saying this is the real Illuminati, but I got contacted by some shit called the Illuminati telling me I could sign up if I wanted to. And it made me really start to think about shit. And I was like, I don't believe it's like anything really actually sinister. I don't believe it's connected to any rich groups or any world leaders or anything like that. Personally, I don't. It could be. Who fucking knows? But it really made me think about shit. And it was like there's people who see that and they're like, there was literally comments on the page. I'm not even gonna tell you where I saw it or what social platform I saw on, but there was comments on the page like, fuck you, you piece of shit. I hope you burn in rotten hell and blah blah. And it's like, this is probably just some dude getting a kick out of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and creating a little mailing list that he can get people to maybe pay 99 cents a month for his Illuminati mailing list or some shit. Who fucking knows? Right. But it's like, there's some people who get so worked up and they let that bother them, and I was just like, there's other shit that I think I need to be fucking focusing on than fucking this Illuminati shit. And it's like, I'm glad that I looked into it and I learned about it all. And I'd like to come back to it one day and maybe turn it into like some sort of a like online school where you can go and like go to a little mini conspiracy school or something and learn how to go through a year or two long course of learning about the most important conspiracies and the different perspectives on them and yada yada, you know?
Cough, cough, the murder of Bill Cooper. Cough.
Speaking of, we'll touch on that next week. So if anybody's listening to this and you remember our Bill Cooper episode from last year, we got some. It was our first episode that ever got featured on a different, or our first 3NN episode that ever got featured on another channel, another much more relevant channel than ours is. Uploads or whatever. They uploaded our Bill Cooper episode, and we probably got a good 50 comments or so, and a good 30 to 40 comments were people being fucking dickheads, like talking shit about us, saying that we curse too much. If we weren't cursing so much, it might be interesting or it might be entertaining. If we didn't fucking talk over each other, it might be interesting or it might be entertaining, or we're immature because we talk over each other. Fuck you. Sorry that we have fucking thoughts that we want to fucking put out there. Fucking,
fuck you.
And we're not the most fucking polite fucking, oh my God, welcome to NPR, blah, blah, blah. Should suck our fucking dick. And also eating potato chips on air. Yes, I agree.
You know
if we were a fucking radio show or we had any kind of true viewership, we probably wouldn't be eating fucking potato chips on air. But we got fucking 5 people on average watching this shit fucking live. So suck our fucking dick if we want to eat some fucking potato chips on air.
To the people that say we curse too much, which all that bullshit, you know what? Fuck you. 3NN is not your safe space. If you're one of those people, you don't need to be watching this show anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna safe spaces next week because safe spaces are bullshit, and I hate, like, I don't hate much, but I really strongly dislike the people that want to defend safe spaces as being some sort of valid thing. And go watch the South Park episode on safe spaces and how reality just crushes safe spaces. All right, Brian, we got to wrap this up. I got some stuff I got to do. All right, bud?
Gotcha.
It's been a blast. I hope that we can maybe do this next week. If not next week, I definitely would like to get one in the following week, all right?
If we can do a Saturday, that'd be great.
All right, sounds good, man.
I'm always free on Saturdays for these types of thingies.
All right, sounds good. You got anything else you'd like to
say? Thanks to both of you for tuning in, and anybody who may be listening back to this later. And fuck safe spaces. And we curse. We're adults. Good. We can do that. We fucking curse. We drink fucking beer. We do what we do. If you don't like it, tough shit.
Yep. Yeah, coming soon. Freedomforever.com. I think it's freedomforever.com. I don't fucking know. Maybe it's not. NickTesla.net coming soon. Available now, or it'll take you right to our channel, thebestyoutubechannel.com. Make sure you like us on Facebook, 3NN Podcast, Where We Lied To, Nick Tesla, Brian McFadden. What else there,
Twitter,
Brian?
iTarpman on Twitter.
Oh, my man. Twitter, The Real Nick Tesla.
On Facebook.
There you go. Facebook, Nick Tesla, I'm on there. Instagram, Real Nick Tesla. I was streaming live on Instagram earlier for like a good 5 minutes or so, but I pay attention to it.
Live, on Xbox Live, H3 Rancid. That's H3 space Rancid.
We got to get Brian up on the gram. He's got to see the beauty of live Instagram shit. You were trying to tell me like a year ago that Twitter is the future, man. Twitter is not the future. Twitter sucks. Instagram is the future, and I promise you it is.
That's because everybody I was associating with told me to get on Twitter, and Twitter was the future.
I thought it was too, but now I'm starting to realize, like, every famous person you know or semi-famous person you know is on Twitter. That's cool. But they're also on Instagram. And then there's also about 1 million other people, but there's young people on Instagram where you can spread the message and then plant seeds. And that's what I like about Instagram.
Your boys on both.
What?
Your boys on both. Shout-outs to special shout-outs to TMTT 2015 and Kriegsvolk. Those were my boys. Mos Eisley Roundtable. If you're listening. If you're not, well, hi anyway.
All right. Shout out to Humongous. You're my boy.
K Small, To Be Free, Eben Wings, my cousins Stormy and Mike, my boy Frankie, Dabu 7, Enter the Stars.
Sounds good. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. We'll see everybody next week. Yeah, we ain't got times. You're just gonna be surprised, like, oh shit, they're live, checking it out. So we will give you a heads up beforehand when we know when we're gonna be doing it. So everybody, continue to check us out, like, subscribe, please share it with your friends, all that good shit, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Fuck PC culture.